You are watching All Things Real Estate and More with Ann-Riley Caldwell, with a brand new episode on contents coverage.
Hey, this is Ann-Riley Caldwell. I'm a realtor here in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, and we're talking about all things real estate. So today I've got Kevin Klingon, and we're from Klingon Insurance Group, and we're talking about homeowners policies and coverages and definitions and all kinds of fascinating things. So one of the things that people may be a little bit more familiar with, because even in a renter situation, we have things called contents. So contents basically just personal property, clothes, jewelry, furs, different things like that. If you turn where you live upside down and it falls out,
it's personal property.
Personal property.
Right.
And so therefore it would have contents coverage.
Yep.
So Kevin's got a few tips and tricks about things to look for with contents coverage and some things that sometimes you specifically have to tell your insurance agent about.
Yeah, so the personal property contents coverage is really where everything kind of meshes together.
Yeah.
They're your previous podcast about replacement cost versus actual cash value, your where the responsibility stops for an owner versus a leasee, etc. All of that fun stuff. Deductibles come into play. Yeah. So most of the time, open peril versus listed peril. In your contents coverage, you're going to have certain limits that apply to different categories. You might have a certain, up to $5,000 or up to $10,000 for jewelry, for example, and that is for all the jewelry that you have. But if you have a high value item, then you're going to need to schedule that and have a rider on your policy to specifically cover that ring or a fur, for example, or some other kind of high value, an antique that may be over and above the $75,000 of furniture that you have. That's just included altogether. So that's one of the main things to look at when you're a renter's policy. It's very similar, and it basically is a personal content policy only. Is really what it is, because when you're renting a place to live, you're not responsible for the building, you're not responsible for the liability, you're not responsible for any of that stuff, other than some negligence if you have a party, and that will be a limit, a liability limit on your renter's policy for liability too. But when you're looking at replacing all of the stuff, and it typically, people will undervalue their possessions. I had a man today that only had, an older couple who had accumulated things over the course of 40, 50 years. And they had $30,000 of personal contents. And I said, you probably have that much in clothes. I mean, you just do. I do. And so that's another thing that you have to look for is this going to adequately cover me to make my life like it was before the claim. So actual cash value is a negative. You got the named items, and if you have a high value that's going to be over that inside limit, you need to make sure that you tell your agent about that. And just make sure that you have enough coverage to cover everything you have.
You might have something that you listed out 10 years ago and you sold it or gave it away or lost, whatever, may or may not have made a claim on it, but you may have given it to somebody and you're still paying a premium for that. And you don't even own it anymore.
You're exactly right. So hopefully everybody out there at least takes inventory and goes through their policy at least every couple of years, just to make sure that it's adequately covering you from a number standpoint, and you're not over insured.
So insurance questions, Kevin. Real estate questions, Ann-Riley. And if you need anything else, reach out to us and we'll find somebody else that can help you if we can. So anyway, hopefully that was enjoyable.
We hope you enjoyed watching All Things Real Estate and More with Ann-Riley Caldwell. To learn more about Ann-Riley or for your real estate needs, visit notyourordinaryagent.com or call 615-930-0313. Thanks for watching.